Technique is the first thing I go to. Sometimes it's just a technical issue and they're not singing fine. Do, re, mi, re, do. Oh, you're out of tune. You're always flat all the time. You don't have good ear training. No, they just have terrible breath support. Teach them how to breathe from the diaphragm and support their tone, and all of a sudden they'll be magically in tune. Another thing that a lot of us, those of us who are trained as singers and have a lot of work with choirs, something that we forget is that the darker your vowel is, often the pitch will droop. And so you need to teach them to tune higher when they learn how to open up those vowels. I've had a lot of choirs that'll go from, that'll go from my life flows on in endless song to my life flows on in endless song. And yeah, they're trying for that big tall tone, but the taller your tone is, automatically the pitch is going to droop a little bit. So you have to think higher, you have to think brighter, you have to bring a little bit more of the cheeks in there, bring a little bit more of that ringing resonance to get my life flows on in endless song. But we can forget how that's not very natural. It's not very instinctual if you haven't been singing that way your whole life. You have to hear that modeled a lot. And a lot of times we'll go to the extreme when modeling a tone and say, oh, big open yawning space. Oh, yeah, sing through this space. My life flows on. And they try to sound like you, and you're a 29-year-old adult male or whatever you happen to be, and you have a larger tone than a 5-year-old does, or a 10-year-old does, or a 12-year-old does. So to match your tone, they add artificial weight and space to their sound, and it starts going out of tune. Another big thing that can affect that is the vowels. There's not enough time here to go into the acoustical physics behind how vowels work, but you are familiar with the term timbre. Timbre is all the things that are not pitch and rhythm and volume and all the things that distinguish a note. It's what tells you that an oboe is an oboe, and a choir is a choir, and a piano is a piano. It's also what tells you that different vowels are different and different people's voices are different. The only difference in there is the timbre, which is made up of the overtones above the fundamental pitch. So if I say, a, e, a, o, oo, my pitch, my fundamental pitch is the same. The overtones, which is those fractions along the vocal cords that also vibrate instead of just the full length of the chord, it vibrates at the half point, at the third point, at the fourth point, at the 1/5, at the sixth, all the way down. Different ones are being highlighted to make different vowel shapes. And that's what overtone singing is, manipulating the instrument into highlighting an overtone so it's louder than the fundamental pitch. I'm not great at it, but I can try. Yeah? So all I'm doing is spiking those, and that's the reason why the American R sounds so gross is because it's literally just spiking overtones over the top there. Actually, I have a theory, a working theory. Most of you might be familiar with the overtone sequence and know that it goes octave, fifth, next octave, major third, perfect fifth, kind of flat seven, and then all the way up, and that's where you get your full scale from. The lowest overtones are that major triad. You have the perfect octave at the doubling, the fifth at the tripling, the octave again at the quadrupling, and then the major third at the fifth overtone point. So my working theory as to why minor songs sound sad is because they don't line up with the overtones. When you sing in tune, perfectly in tune and lock it, that major third is still there in the overtone. And it's clashing with the minor third that you're hearing in the chord. It's my theory. Versus a major triad where everything just lines up in the space of the overtone. It's also why you'll find in most well-written music that you see a lot of octaves and fifths in the bass and then a lot of closer tones the higher you go, because that lines up with the structure of the overtones from the bottom. So all of that being said, the reason I give that little side on acoustics is that if you are singing your vowels incorrectly, if your choir doesn't have a consistent vowel space, the overtones might be what's out of tune, and that might be what you're hearing. So let's do an example. Everyone sing a nice, healthy, choral, open, ah, ah. Lovely, give me your best kindergarten, ah. Good, give me your best opera, oh. Lovely. Opera, choral, kindergartner. Same pitch, dead in tune. Don't let the pitch move. Sounds out of tune, right? Not out of tune. You're all singing correct, but the vowels are not the same. Now we're making it very obvious here, but a small difference in vowel will make it sound out of tune. Would you mind singing with me real quick? Just ah, ready? Ah. So you hold yours exactly the same. Keep your vowel exactly the same. Yeah, as I move my vowel, you can hear it going more or less out of tune. It's not out of tune, it's vowel matching. very, very hard to work on. Don't have enough time, that's not what the point of this session is. But if they're out of tune, think about whether that might be one of the causes. Okay? Tension in the neck, poor registration, head voice, chest voice, getting your voice into falsetto, all those things are tied into it. Boys changing voice, as they start going through that transition, the middle notes can often disappear really quickly. A lot of times when you think a boy can't match pitch, they have no coordination on those notes. They went to bed with a violin and they woke up with a cello and they don't know how to play it anymore. And it's the same instrument, it's still strings in your finger, but you gotta stretch them more. And it's hard to find. Most of you probably had those boys in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade where their arms and legs grow faster than the rest of their body and they're walking down the hallways with like weirdly long limbs. Yeah, same thing's happening in here. As was mentioned earlier in one of the other sessions I attended, this is a very flexible instrument. It's a wonderful instrument. A trumpet doesn't move that much if you try to squish it. A violin, maybe if you stomp on it, you can change its shape. This is made out of meat. Now, you wouldn't think to make an instrument out of meat on day one. If we did that lesson we all do in elementary school where you get the tissue box, you put the rubber bands on it, you make your own little instrument. I said, okay, you can make your instrument out of anything you want. Here's some tissue boxes, some paper towel rolls, here's some metal, here's some wood, and here's a pile of meat. What do you want to make your instrument out of? No one picks the meat, but it's the most beautiful instrument you can have because of the flexibility. But it also means it's really easy to damage, it also means it's really hard to master. And it also means that it changes from day to day, and we all know that. You wake up some days and part of your range is not there. You wake up some days and you're in perfect, flawless voice. And sometimes you know why. You went over to a friend's house who has cats and you have allergies and you let it affect you, or you didn't turn on your humidifier the night before, or you didn't get any sleep because your hotel is next to the highway. So, but your voice can highly vary from day to day, and so can your singers. As they're going through the voice change, their range might change dramatically from day to day. They might only have 3 or 4 notes one day, they might have a full octave the next day, so sometimes those challenges are not actually not being able to match pitch. Sometimes it's some other side issue, so I love to cover those.